there are some Wonderkids where the story just doesn't make sense. And Maycon Cardozo is one of them, because if you were building the perfect footballer on paper, you wouldn't start in Thailand, you wouldn't rely on a last-minute call-up, and you definitely wouldn't expect it to end at Bayern Munich. But somehow, that's exactly what happened. A kid nobody was really watching, suddenly standing in one of the biggest clubs in the world, not looking lost, not looking nervous, but looking like he'd been there the whole time. And that's the part that should make you stop for a second, because this isn't just a nice story. This is the kind of rise that usually means a club has found something early. And when a club like Bayern thinks they've found something early, you pay attention, because this isn't just about talent. Football is full of talented players. It's about how he got here. Bayern Munich don't usually move like this. They don't pick players up from outside the system. They don't rely on video clips. And they definitely don't fast-track someone this quickly unless they've seen something different, something they can't teach. Because in less than 2 years, Maycon Cardozo went from being completely unknown to signing for Bayern, to stepping onto a Bundesliga pitch. That's not normal progression, that's acceleration. And when a club like Bayern moves that fast on a player, it usually means they believe they've found something special. And to understand why Bayern moved like that, you have to go all the way back. Not to Munich, not to Germany, but to a completely different football world. Because Maycon Cardozo wasn't raised in the academies everyone watches. He wasn't coming through Barcelona or Ajax or even Brazil's top systems. He was growing up in Thailand, a place most scouts don't even look twice at. While other kids his age were already inside elite pathways, being tracked, monitored, developed, Maycon was almost invisible to that system. But the talent was always there. You see it in the small details, the way he moves with the ball, the way he plays without hesitation, the way everything looks natural, not forced. And even as a kid, people around him started to notice this wasn't normal. This wasn't just another young player trying to make it. This was someone playing like he already knew where he was going. And somehow, from that unlikely starting point, everything started to move very, very quickly. And then came the moment. That changed everything. Not a big transfer, not a headline, just an opportunity that almost didn't happen, because Maycon wasn't even supposed to be there. He was a late call-up, a replacement, brought into Bayern's world squad after another player got injured just weeks before the tour. Most players in that position just try not to mess it up, but he didn't play like that. From the first sessions, coaches noticed it. Not just the skill, but the way he carried himself, the confidence, the intensity, the feeling that he belonged, even around older players. And it didn't take long. A few games, a few moments, and suddenly he wasn't just another name in the group. He was the one people kept talking about. That's what got Bayern's attention. Not a long track record, not years of data, just a short window where everything he did made it obvious. This wasn't luck, this was level. And once Bayern saw it, they moved quickly. Because clubs like that don't wait when they believe they found something real. But here's what makes this even more interesting. It's not just the story, it's how he plays. Because the first thing you notice with Maycon isn't speed, it's control. Everything is tight, close to his feet, quick touches, always balanced, like the ball is glued to him. And then you realize something else. You can't show him onto one side. He's comfortable on both feet, so defenders don't get that usual advantage of forcing him wide or cutting him inside. He can go either way, and he knows it. That's where the danger comes from, not just what he does, but the fact you don't know what he's about to do. And in those small spaces, when the game gets tight, when everything feels crowded, that's when he looks the most comfortable, turning quickly, slipping past players, creating something out of nothing. It's not loud, it's not flashy for the sake of it, it's just natural. And when a player that young already looks that calm, that unpredictable, you start to understand why Bayern didn't hesitate. And naturally, when a player like this appears, people start trying to figure out who he reminds them of. The closest comparison, stylistically, is that low center of gravity winger profile. Think of someone like Savinho, the way he moves in tight spaces, the way he carries the ball, that ability to glide past defenders instead of just sprinting past them. And then there's another layer to it. Because unlike a lot of wingers, Maycon is comfortable on both feet, which makes him harder to read, harder to defend, and that's something you usually only see in more complete attackers. But here's where you have to be careful. These comparisons are about style, not level. because Savinho is already doing it at the highest level. Maycon is still at the very beginning. What makes this interesting isn't who he is right now, it's how close the profile already looks. And if that development continues at the same speed, then those comparisons won't feel like a stretch for much longer. And this is where it gets interesting, from a Manchester United point of view, because the reports aren't just that he's talented, it's that United scouts have been watching him closely. And not just watching, they've been impressed, blown away by how quickly he's adapted, how comfortable he looks, how natural everything feels, even at senior level. And when you think about what United have struggled with, it starts to make sense. For years now, United have been looking for wide players who can actually win one-on-one situations consistently. Players who don't need space, players who can create something when nothing's on. And that's exactly where Maycon stands out, because even in small moments, limited minutes, he's already showing those traits. That ability to receive under pressure, to turn quickly, to take players on without hesitation. But here's the bigger picture. United have been here before. Watching a young player early, hesitating, and then watching the price explode when it's too late. So now the question isn't just, is he good? It's, are United seeing something early again? Or are they about to watch another one slip away? But here's where you have to be careful, because if you're a United fan, this part feels familiar. We've seen this story before. A young player, highlight clips, moments that look special, and then the expectation grows faster than the player does. And that's where things can go wrong. Because what Maycon is doing right now, it's in flashes, short appearances, small windows, moments where everything clicks. But the real test is doing it when teams figure you out, when defenders stop diving in, when they match you physically, when you don't get that extra half a second on the ball. That's the level where players either rise or disappear. And with someone like him, there's always that question in the background. Is this the start of something real? Or are we just seeing the best parts before the league catches up? Because United can't afford to get this wrong again. Not on potential, not on projection, not on another player who looks exciting, but isn't ready for what comes next. So now it comes down to this. Not just whether Maycon Cardozo is talented, but whether Manchester United are looking at the right kind of player at the right time. Because the signs are there. The rise, the confidence, the way he's already handling senior football, that's not normal. And when scouts start reacting the way United's reportedly have, you pay attention. But talent has never been the problem at United. It's timing, it's decisions. It's knowing when to move and when to wait. Because if they move too early, they're betting on potential. If they wait too long, they might not get the chance at all. And that's the balance, that's the risk. So the real question isn't just, is he the next breakout star? It's this, have United finally spotted one early? Or are we watching another player? They'll wish they moved for sooner, because this is a problem United have been dealing with for a while now. That left side, it's never fully settled. Even when players step in, even when systems change, you can still feel it. There's no natural presence there, no one who consistently takes control of those one-on-one moments. And that's why a player like Maycon gets attention, because he looks like he could solve something. But then the bigger question comes in. Is he the answer? Or is he another project at a time when United don't really need one? Because there's also a pathway to think about. Players like JJ Gabriel coming through, waiting for their moment, and bringing in another young winger could block that before it even begins. So what's the smarter move? Do you take the gamble and hope you found something early? Or do you go and get someone ready now, someone proven, someone who raises the level immediately? Because this isn't just about one player. It's about getting that decision right.